In this video, I will be introducing myself, talking about Zohran Mamdani's plans for New York, talk about the problem of non-renewable resources, talk about how Zohran can help and deal with this problem, talk about an example of the solution, and then talk about my agenda. If you're interested, you can jump into one of these subjects at hand, or you could watch the video fully. I advise you to watch the video fully. Other than that, let's begin.
I was chasing shadows, moving too fast. Didn't see the way our love couldn't last.
Hello there. My name is Max. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Tunisia. I'm here to provide some constructive criticism about New York's current mayor, Zohran Mamdani. To be capable of providing this constructive criticism, we need to talk first about Zohran Mamdani's plan. So, Zohran Mamdani has a plan for multiple things. One of the things I'm going to be talking about in this video is his plan on affordability or groceries, where he said this in an interview.
So let's start out by asking you, why should voters trust that you are up for the challenge?
You know, first and foremost, because I actually understand the number one crisis in this city, which is a crisis of affordability. And you can see that in the polls around how New Yorkers are feeling in this moment. You can also see that in conversations you have with New Yorkers. There are so many people who have helped to build this city, sustain this city, but they don't know if they can call themselves New Yorkers next year because they don't know if they can afford their rent or their childcare or their groceries or even their Metro card.
I'm here to talk about the cost of groceries and how to lower them. Basically through innovation. As we follow along, you'll understand what I mean by innovation.
Do you remember how you held me then? Now you've got me reaching out.
So, the major problem that Zohran Mamdani has when it comes to groceries is the non-renewable resources. What do I mean? To explain to you guys the problem exactly, we'll take an example of a small economy that has three agents. This economy is made out of a taxi driver, a bakery, and a gas station. In this small economy, the taxi buys gas from the gas station and bread from the bakery. The bakery uses the taxi to go home, and the gas station buys bread from the bakery. So each one of these components reacts to another. When you look at the small economy, hypothetically, it's all good. Except when you introduce the factor of non-renewable resources. What am I talking about? Before moving forth for a second, I want you guys to remember something. The basics of economy, offer and demand. When something exists in bulk, in a large quantity, the price is low. When something exists in a low quantity, as in it's more rare, it exists more expensive. It's higher and it's more expensive. Why am I mentioning this? Because it's all fine and dandy when it comes to our three components in this small economy. Except when we take consideration of the non-renewable resources and what happens if we move forward in time. What non-removable resources am I talking about? I'm talking about the gas from the gas station. Because gas from the gas station is made out of petrol, and the more we go forth in time, the more the reserves of petrol goes less, as in there's less amount of petrol, the more the price will go up. The less the quantity gets, the more expensive it gets. And like what I said before in offer and demand, the lower the amount, the rarer it is, the more expensive it gets. Now, like I said, in this small economy, we don't have a gas station only, we have also the bakery and the taxi driver. Before the taxi driver buys gas from the gas station, and because the price of the gas went up, the taxi driver has to also increase the price of the ride for him to keep making the same amount of money. And because the price of the ride got up, and because the bakery or the baker in the bakery takes a ride home every day and the price of the ride got up, he will also have to increase the price of bread. And because the gas station buys bread from the bakery, And because the price of the bakery got up, the gas station has an extra reason to increase the price again. Mind you, we just increased the price originally on the non-renewable resource, which is the gas. But it's a small thing that has a snowball effect. When you start looking at the mountain, a small ball starts from the beginning, but gains momentum through time and becomes bigger and bigger. Same thing in here too, because we're dealing with a non-renewable resource. This resource through time will get more expensive and will make other things more expensive too. The problem here is, if you look at it as an overview, from a macro point of view, it would seem that everything got more expensive for no reason. It's difficult to detect the rise because of the non-resources, because it affects everything. Everything gets more expensive at the same time. So you wouldn't know unless you were looking for it. So your boy Max, just to be clear, predicted in this video that in the future, because it's not just in a small period of time, this happens after many years, petrol will get so expensive that petrol, as in plastics and gas, will get more expensive through time, and they will affect their surroundings. So, for example, if you buy a baguette bread in a plastic bag, through time, the price of the bag itself will get so expensive that it will be more expensive than the bread itself. This is a prediction I'm making in this video, and I'm pretty sure that sooner or later it will be applicable. Same thing with the plastic bottle. The price of the plastic itself will get so expensive that it will be more expensive than the water itself in the bottle. Or, for the example of smartphones, the plastic smartphones will get more expensive than the glass counterpart. So plastic bad, non-renewable bad. Is there a solution in this whole thing? Especially in consideration to Zohran Mamdani's plans on groceries. So, like I said before, the problem comes from non-renewable resources. So what's the solution? Basically change from non-renewable to renewable. So we need to go from non-renewable resources to renewable ones. What am I talking about? For example, we'll take the example of a mayonnaise jar. We'll go from non-renewable to renewable. In this case, if said mayonnaise container is made out of plastic, then we run into the problem of, through time, the price of the container increasing through time, and because it increased in prices, it will affect the environment around it to increase in price also. So we need to change it into a renewable resources. In this case, gas. So let's take a practical example. In this example, we have two scenarios of a woman living in New York City. One where she buys a mayonnaise in a plastic container, another when she buys it in a glass container. In case of the plastic, she buys the plastic container of the mayonnaise, uses the mayonnaise in it, then throws it in the trash. And then, when needing mayonnaise, she would go into the shop again to buy the plastic one, to use again, and throw the container in the trash, and so on and so forth. But if you have an equivalent that is made out of glass, then things change a little bit. For example, when buying it for the first time, instead of throwing it in the trash, when it comes to a glass container, some women are savvy and smart, and instead of throwing it in the trash, they use it as a container. Some use it to contain salt, pepper, other stuff or spices, and later on, after using it to contain stuff in the kitchen, she throw it in the trash, right? Well, no. When it comes to glass, no. In this case, she can go to the shop, take the first mayonnaise jar that she bought from the first time, give it to the clerk, and use it when buying the second container, which will make the second time buying the mayonnaise cheaper. So, for example, if we take the price of the mayonnaise jar as $1 American, the cost of the glass container would be, let's say, for example, 20 cents. In that case, when buying the first time, she would buy it for $1, but when buying it for the second time, she would buy it only for 80 cents because she's returning the glass container. Instead of it being thrown into the trash, she just gives it back. You might be saying, in case of our example, 20 cents isn't that much at all. But first, this doesn't apply to one product. I'm talking here as an example of the mayonnaise jar because, simply put, it's an easy example. It gets the idea across. I'm talking about all the products made that are consumables to be made with renewable resources, not plastics, with renewables. From one hand, you're reducing trash. From the second, you're making things cheaper. So, nice talk about renewable and non-renewable, stuff about economy, stuff about making things cheaper. Why am I talking about this when talking about Zohran Mamdani, mayor of New York City? Simple. Because he has the capability of enforcing these things. In my opinion, he should make it illegal to make products out of non-renewable resources. If there's anything that is related to food, it needs to be made out of glass, aluminium, cardboard, and not plastic. It needs to be made out of product where the American person, in this case in New York, could go into the shop after buying the product more than the first time for them to be capable of having it at a discount in the second, third, fourth, and so on. I'm talking about food in general because it's possible to do this with food. There are some products that you can't just change from plastic to another. For example, if you guys ever donated blood, you'd know that the container is made out of plastic and it's sterilized for it to contain the blood for later on to be used to give the person who needs that blood. But in this case, it's made out of plastic and there might not be an alternative material for that to be made out of. Other than this being applied to all the products, some people will just go to the shop to give that container for a discount. Some people just have too much money, not enough time, so they throw it in the trash. What will happen here is there will be a new market created for people who collect these containers and sell them. As far as I remember, I don't recall the source exactly, but the US has a problem where they have veterans, people who went to war, who came back, who don't have anywhere to live, and don't have food or money. So they live in tents in the street. And they collect plastic bottles, or potentially also aluminium. They sell them, and with that money, they can buy food and live off of them. So there's a little bit of offer and demand when it comes to the market. In my opinion, this is like how products were before the introduction of expiration. Now, when you look at a product, you just expect it to give you the expiration date for you to not get sick. And it applies to all products. In my opinion, the same thing needs to be applied when it comes to the materials that are made out of that product. In this case, renewable resources, glass. Before moving to the next part, I do recall there was a video I've seen about Mexico and Coca-Cola in Mexico being renewable. You take the glass, go to the shop, you buy a new Coke bottle, and you give the container for it to be cheaper. So, we're talking about set packaging. Is there a practical example, Mr. Max de Pierre? Can you bring it to us for us to understand? Yes, we're here to talk about the examples in Tunisia. So, nice to be talking theoretically about a lot of stuff. What about reality? Is there any example in reality that is applicable and clear? Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you a Fanta glass bottle. In this case, this is a Fanta bottle lemonade, and we here in Tunisia can buy glass soda from shops. What's interesting here in Tunisia is that the price of the bottle, which is 1 liter, against the price of the plastic one, shows exactly what I'm talking about here. If you go to a major retailer, equivalent to what you guys have as Walmart or Target, we here have Carrefour and Monopoly. If you look at the same equivalent of size, this is 1 liter. In Tunisia, the glass one is $2. I'm gonna say dollar and spare you the change in currency from Tunisian dinar to American dollar, but let's just say it's $2, $2 American dollars for the glass one, and you take the container and you give it to the shop and you get a new one. In the major retailers, the plastic ones are $2.10, and the normal shops, not the big ones, they sell it for $3. So that's an increase of 50% for the normal shops and just 10 cents for the major retailer, because major retailers, they buy in bulk, so it's cheaper. Before ending this part, 2 things to talk about. We have in Tunisia the soda, in this example it's Fanta, which is made out of glass. We had a product that is called Rosetta, and we had cooking oil. When it comes to Rosetta, when I was a wee little lad, a little boy, I used to go to buy the Rosetta in glass containers like this one, but now they changed it to plastic. The Rosetta, by the way, for those who won't know it, it's basically concentrated juice. You mix it with water and you drink it. It's really sweet, which exists also, but it's in plastic. The cooking oil exists in plastics, and the Rosetta exists in plastics. Question comes, why would you change from glass into plastics? Basically, on the short term, it looks cheaper. But like I explained before, it gets more expensive with time. So, other than Tunisia having an example of said product like this, why am I making this video about zohran Mamdani? So, why am I making this video? Why would a random person in a third world country make a video about a mayor in America, in the USA? Basically, the problems that zohran Mamdani is tackling are something that even outside of the US you can empathize with, which is the problem of expenses and the cost of living in New York. We have that here also in Tunisia. It's more of a problem in the capital and less in some other cities, and it's not a problem that only Tunisia has. It exists in other countries. But still, why am I making this video? In my opinion, if zohran Mamdani is capable of making changes that are very helpful and practical in New York City, in America, if New York is capable of applying these changes and making things better, then other states in America will apply them too. If other states in America apply these solutions too, then there will be trickle-down effect that will get to, you guessed it, third world country. Because the models that we're following when it comes to products that we have and such in third world country, they're based on first world countries. For example, in Tunisia we follow a lot France because of the history between Tunisia and France. Before the independence of Tunisia, we applied the system that exists in France. For example, accounting, when you're filing your taxes and such, we follow the system that France uses it. But also France is also affected by the US. The US is a major, powerful player in the world, and any good thing that comes out of the US can be also applicable in other countries. That's a bad and a good thing too, because for example, because in Tunisia we follow the example of other countries, we have a problem which is of pollution. When you go throw trash in a trash can, it's gonna go into a landfill and it's gonna be stacking up. It's not really removing the landfill and it's not filtering it for the bad stuff, the plastic bad stuff to go somewhere, and the renewable stuff to go somewhere. It's all mixed together, and it's not that practical. So when we're learning and following the example of said developed countries, we're taking the bad and the good and the bad at the same time. I'm generally not a person who's interested in politics. For example, not that far a long time ago, Tunisia had its election. I didn't give a shit about it. I really don't. When it comes to voting, what I did was there were two candidates. I just wrote exclamation point on the first one, exclamation point on the second. I don't care who wins. I'm never really that interested when it comes to politicians, except for Zohran Mamdani. Only one that I've heard speak and was like, okay, this guy has a plan, this guy has practical stuff, I like him, but I like to watch how he goes. If he fucks up, we can learn stuff, but if he fucks up and he tries, it's better than not trying. Anyway, I'm not here to provide this general diagnostics for money. Don't care about the money. If you ever use this information, either Zohran Mamdani or someone else who's interested in the improvement of US and other countries that were affected by it, contact me if you ever need help. What I'm doing here is not providing a full-on solution for Zohran. This is me just opening the door and showing it to Zohran Mamdani. Going inside and taking steps, it's a whole different thing. It's not a difficult thing, it's a complex thing. And when dealing with a complex thing, you just have to cut it down into its most basic forms for you to deal with it. There needs to be some research and development in said products that are renewable, that will take the place of non-renewable. There are systems and ways, especially when it comes to taxing, where you could improve things a lot. I'm not gonna go say everything, because all in due time. I'm not here to give off too much information. Maybe I'll make video in the future about said other points that are important and related to this. If you agree or disagree with what I had said in this video, you're welcome to comment in the comment section below. Other than that, I wish you guys have a nice day. Zohran, bye.